Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 13, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. So we'll chant first 7 verses. Arjuna Uvacha Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Kshetrajnameva cha Etadveditumicchami Jnanam Jneyam cha Keshava. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetramityabhidhiyate Etadyo vetti tam prahuhu Kshetrajna iti tadvidaha. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi Sarvakshetreshu Bharata. Kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam Yattajnanam matam mama. Tatshetram yachayadrikcha Yadvikari yadascha yad Sachayo yat prabhavascha Tatsamasena me shrinu. Rishibhir bahudha gitam Chandobhir vividhaih prithak Brahma sutra padaishchaiva Hetumadbhir vinishchitaihi. Mahabhutanyahangaraha Buddhiravyaktameva cha Indriyani dashaikam cha Panchachendriya gocharaha. Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham Sankhataschetana-dhritihi Etat kshetram samasena Savikaramudahritam. I think most of you are aware that we have another Vedanta center in New Jersey and New York area. Very successful Vedanta center. And that center is headed by my colleagues Gautam Jain and his wife Ritika Jain. And unfortunately, Gautam, he passed away on June 10th. He was visiting India. So it's a great loss to the cause of Vedanta, especially in the US area. So I knew him for the last 30 years, both Gautam and Ritika. So I thought, let us pay tribute to Gautam Jain and his contribution to the cause of Vedanta. So personally, he inspired me in many ways. So what I have done is I have noted down certain qualities which I observed in him as a seeker, as a teacher, and they have been inspiring me for a long time. So perhaps it might be useful to you also, because all of us are sincere seekers. So can we have a PowerPoint? So last week we started the study of the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the distinction between field and the knower of the field. What's the difference between spirit and matter? That's what it means. And we studied first two verses, rather, right? Verse number 1 and 2.
Yes, Amit.
Yeah. So just to quickly recap the main points. So the chapter starts, verse number 1 starts with Arjuna's question. So he's firing 6 questions at Krishna. Arjuna is asking the 6 questions to Krishna. So he wants to know what is matter, what is spirit, what is field, what is knower of field, what is knowledge, and what is nayam, meaning that which ought to be known, what is the ultimate purpose of life. So he must have heard these terms during his time, and he wants Krishna to clarify these terms. So easiest way to understand these terms without getting into complications, that every human being is a combination of spirit and matter. We keep on saying this. Spirit is the divinity in you, the God principle in you, and matter is body, mind, intellect. So every human being, every being in fact, is a combination of spirit and matter. So it is the spirit, the God principle, the self, the Atman, all these are synonyms. It enlivens body, mind, intellect, which is matter. So on its own, matter has no life. Also, the spirit has no life. But when it combines with matter, when they combine with each other, there is an expression of life, which is you and me. And our body is nothing but gross matter. And mind and intellect is nothing but subtle matter. And we often give example of electricity and any gadget. So electricity has no light in it. Any gadget also has got no light in it. There is no expression on its own. But when electricity functions through any gadget, there is light or there is movement or whatever that gadget is manifesting. So similarly, body, mind, intellect is nothing but a matter. So what enlivens this matter, this personality, is nothing but God principle. And that God principle, that spirit, is the substratum of our personality. It is a substratum of the whole universe, in fact. That was the first point. The second point was God principle or spirit is neutral. Extremely important for you to understand this as a seeker. It just enlivens our body, mind, intellect. But how you manage your personality. With body, you can perceive and act. With mind, you can feel various emotions. With intellect, you can entertain very thoughts, any thought. So, how you manage your personality, God principle has got absolutely nothing to do with it. It is neutral. So, you may use your body, mind, intellect for best of things, or the same body, mind, intellect you can use for worst of. God principle has got absolutely nothing to do with how you operate your life. Not many people know this, so therefore they blame God or they blame extraneous factors. So you are responsible for who you are. You can make the best out of you, which is reach the ultimate state of enlightenment. Every human being has that capacity. Or also you can go to the lowest of your personality using same body, mind, intellect. So the God principle is neutral. And then in verse number 2, the thought flow continues. In fact, this is where he starts answering Arjuna's questions one by one. This body, we are just recapping. This body, O Kaunteya, is called Kshetra, the field. This body is called as Kshetra. He who knows this is called Kshetrajna, knower of the field, by those who know of that. So the next level of understanding is body in broader sense can be referred to three bodies. Gross body, which is the physical body which we see, isn't it? But what operates this body? This is like a hardware. So what is propelling my body, your body to act? It is subtle body. It's like a software. So subtle body is made up of mind and intellect. But what is the source of subtle body? So the subtle body comes from the causal body, which is Vasana. So the entire personality is nothing but expression of Vasanas. So Vasanas, they manifest as subtle body. The further manifestation of Vasana is gross body. Or you can say Vasanas, they grossify. The first grossification is mind and intellect. The final grossification is the physical body. So you can use the word grossification, you can use the word manifestation, they all mean the same. And then we talked about Vasanas. So Vasana is the source of our entire personality. You are whatever you are due to your Vasanas. Unmanifest desires, if you don't understand about Vasanas, it's okay. So Vasanas will manifest as thought, desires, and action. So if your Vasanas are kind, compassionate, expression will be like that. Your thoughts will be kind, your desires will be kind, your actions will be kind. If your Vasanas are self-centered, your thoughts will be self-centered. Anywhere. At home, you will function selfishly. In your workplace, you will function selfishly. In the society, you will function selfishly. You come to the spiritual field, you will function selfishly. Because your Vasanas are selfish. So thoughts will be selfish, desires will be selfish, actions will be selfish. But as a human being, we have a capacity to change the quality of our Vasanas. Otherwise, what are we doing? No other creature can do that. Tiger is ferocious. That's his Vasana. So you can't train tiger. There is no program in the world by which it will become like a lamb. It's not possible. It's not capable of doing that. But as a human being, you could be born with the most atrocious Vasanas. But you may end up with the most noble Vasanas. And that's what we are aiming to do through our study and reflection. But changing quality of Vasanas is only the beginning. The ultimate aim is to eliminate our Vasanas, our desires. So when you eliminate all your Vasanas, you reach a state of spiritual enlightenment. And every human being is capable of that. He or she has that potential. And then we also discussed about three states of consciousness. These three states of consciousness, it is nothing but a play of Vasanas. Deep sleep, dream, waking. That is my life, that is your life. But the entire personality, all these three states of consciousness, they are enlivened by spirit, the God principle. And therefore, he says, those who know the spirit, they know the relationship between spirit and matter. If you read the translation, he who knows this is called Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. By those who know of that. So only those who have reached the ultimate state of enlightenment, they know the relationship between spirit and matter. We don't know the spirit, so definitely we don't know the relationship between spirit and matter, but now we know what is the relationship. It is the spirit which enlivens the matter, which is body, mind, and intellect. And then the last point which we discussed was, somebody may say, why should I know all these components of my personality? No, unless and until you know, understand your personality, how can you function in the world? As a child, we should be taught this knowledge, that there is something called as buddhi, intellect in us. If we are not taught, we will not know entire life that it is mind which can overpower the intellect. And once intellect is overpowered, you are in trouble in life. So somebody has to tell that to us, that you have manas, you have buddhi, you have mind, you have intellect. It is the intellect which can control the mind, and you have to strengthen your intellect. You have senses, 5 senses, and these senses, they have a natural tendency to gravitate towards the sense objects. And again, only if you have a powerful intellect, you'll be able to manage your senses. Otherwise, you'll be victimized by senses. And most people, they are victimized by their senses. Then there is something called as subtle intellect. The difference between gross intellect, subtle intellect. Gross intellect takes care of all the transactions in the terrestrial world, whatever you are transacting. You need logic and reason, it goes without saying. So it is applicable in the terrestrial realm. There is something beyond the terrestrial. That is your real personality. And only when you have a strong, subtle intellect, you will start questioning the very purpose of your life. So it's the subtle intellect which takes you to the transcendental. So we have to know all these things. And then we discussed about, if you want to manage anything, in fact, that's the theme of our Sunday class, which we started a few weeks back, governing business and relationships. Everything boils down to self-management. If you cannot manage yourself, you cannot manage anything. What? Fill in the blanks.
External.
Which includes?
The world.
Now he's keeping quiet. He knows the answer. Anybody can say, please define. World means what?
Relationships.
Yeah, wife can't manage. She's sitting next to him, so how can he? Incidentally, they are the best couple I have ever seen. You won't be able to manage anything. Your spouse, your children, your finances, your work, nothing. And you don't know, innocent as you are, we blame the world. So therefore, study of human composition, constitution is absolute must. So what is that self-management? It is intellect managing the mind. And our intellect is weak because there is no program in the world to strengthen our intellect. So we plunge into the world with a weak intellect. And then when we are bruised, we blame everybody except ourselves. So therefore, it is in your interest to understand how human personality functions. Otherwise, it sounds very scholastic. Why should I know these terms? The difference between spirit and matter. English is okay. Sanskrit is like, it goes over the head. Kshetrajna, I mean, it's a tongue twister. There's a meaning behind these terms. So that's what we studied last week. Any questions, anything which is not clear? Of course, I give you time in the end, but something which is really bothering you from last class?
I was wondering if the vasanas are extinguished, what is our purpose at that point?
You become God. It's like asking, what's the purpose of God? You become enlightened person. You become one with divinity. It's like, I understand your question. Like child is asking parents, we keep on telling them, why are you playing with video games? Why are you playing with video games? So the child is asking, mom, dad, if I give up video games and all these teenage passions, what is left in life? We all have gone through that, so we understand. So once you give up the toy world, what happens? You come to the real world, right? So you can understand based on this. You reach the ultimate, you become the supreme. All right, verse number 3, please.
क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम.
Translation: Kshetrajna chapi mam vidhi. It's a very famous quote from Bhagavad Gita. And O Bharata, O Arjuna, also know me as the Kshetrajna, knower in all kshetras, fields. The knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that is considered by me to be the knowledge. So from the highest point of view, he's saying only when you merge with the self, you reach the self, you have achieved the purpose of your life. So that is true knowledge. So we'll come back to it. So what Krishna is telling us, in fact, to begin with, he is addressing Arjuna as Bharata, Bharat. That is India's original name. We say India, India. It's okay, it doesn't matter. But what does it mean? There's a philosophical meaning behind that. So the word Bharat is a Sanskrit word, is derived from two words, Bha and Rata. Bha means light of consciousness, knowledge, supreme reality. All these are synonyms. And Rata means revels. So Bharata means one who revels in the light of consciousness, one who has understood the purpose of life. That only when you reach the ultimate state of enlightenment, you can experience peace or infinite happiness. In fact, you can revel only in that bliss. And what we are doing, we are trying to revel, we are trying to find happiness in what?
External
Highly
world.
philosophical. Yes?
External world.
External objects and beings of the world, which includes everything. Your relationships with your family, your wealth, your name, fame, reputation. So by default, you cannot revel in the external world, objects and beings of the world. You may try to revel. We all try to do that. But when that object or a being is taken away, and that's the nature of the world, One day it will be gone, because what is the very definition of the world? What you observe in the world?
constant change.
It's constant. World means change. Jagat means change. So in this changing world, how can you find solace, happiness, bliss in any object or a being which by default is temporary, which by default is going to change? But we all do that. If you do that, sorrow and suffering is the result. There is no other way. It's the law of life. So therefore, there is built-in appeal in that name. Get to that state of supreme reality. Only when you reach that state, you can enjoy life. You can be truly happy, not otherwise. Number one. Number two, Krishna says, I am the self in all of you. Kshetrajna chapimam vidhi. So when any time enlightened master uses the pronoun I, it means self or God principle, not body, mind, intellect. Christ does the same thing in Bible. Come to me, he says. Krishna is saying that I am the self, I am the God principle in all of you. Buddha says the same thing. Prophet Muhammad also says the same thing. So when any enlightened master uses the pronoun I, it's not that all of them used, but some of them have used that. It means the self, the God principle. So when Christ says, come to me, he does not mean his personality, because he has transcended his personality. He has no personality. He has gone beyond body, mind, intellect. So similarly, when Krishna says, come to me, Buddha says, come to me, it does not mean Mr. Krishna. It does not mean Mr. Buddha. So I am the God principle. I am the Kshetrajna in all Kshetras. I am the self in all the beings. Okay, it's very simple. I am the homogeneous principle in the heterogeneity of body, mind, and intellect. See, we all are different, distinct and different. And nobody can deny that. Because our bodies are different, our mind is different, our intellect is different. But what is the common factor? What is the substratum of everybody's personality? What is that homogeneous principle which is same in this pluralistic phenomena called life?
Self.
The self, the God principle, the divinity. So Krishna is saying, I am that divinity in all of you. I am the self in all of you. Same as electricity. It's like electricity is saying, I'm same in all the gadgets. There are millions of gadgets. But what is the common factor? It's electricity. When we go to Lowe's or Home Depot, if you go to the bulb department, and as you walk into the aisle, there is a dimmer, I think. As you walk in, the lights, they start glowing. Have you seen that? That's hundreds of varieties of light. Each light, each bulb is different. But what's the common factor? What's the common factor in all the bulbs? Simple example.
Electricity.
Electricity is the common factor. So similarly, there is plurality in this world, correct? No two human beings are same. But what's the common factor? What is that homogeneous principle which is same even in a saint and a sinner? What is it?
Spirit. God principle.
It's the self, it's the God principle, it's the divinity. And all great masters, they have said that. Can we have the PowerPoint? See, I am the self in all the beings. So this is the verse which we are studying. Christ says in Bible, and the kingdom of heaven is within you. And whosoever knoweth himself shall find it. He who knows the self knows God. Prophet Muhammad. I am the teacher of countless bodhisattvas of bygone ages. Lord Buddha. I am that I am. Old Testament. Moses. So all enlightened masters, they have said exactly the same thing. That you are that truth, you are that divinity. And it is your mission in life to get to that truth, get to that divinity. And unless and until you reach that state, you cannot find true purpose and fulfillment in life. You could be in best of circumstances. Why not? Nobody wants to be in worst of circumstances. You could be in best of circumstances. And before you know what is happening, the whole thing can be taken away from you. Isn't it? But what cannot be taken away from you and me is what?
God principle.
The God principle. So once you are established there, it doesn't matter what happens internally or externally. So therefore he says, to get to that state is your ultimate mission in life. So he who can separate the self from matter is a realized person. That's what he's saying in the verse, but I'm trying to explain in a very simple way. But easier said than done. I understand. All of you appreciate this. Oh, yes, Christ is saying must be true. Krishna is saying must be true. But you may not say it, but the question marks I can understand. But how do I get there? What is the methodology? Get there. Anybody would like to know. Otherwise, it's a theory, beautiful theory. It gives us solace, but beyond a point, we cannot apply this in our day-to-day life. So how do I get there? What's the technique? What is the methodology by which I get there? So for which you need to understand that you have fallen into limitations. See, we're going to use two words now, pure consciousness and conditioned consciousness. It means the same. So the context is slightly different. So therefore we use these two terms. But the main point remains the same. So we all have fallen into limitations. That supreme reality, that pure consciousness, that's what we are. We have fallen into a state of conditioned consciousness. Actually, you are that truth. You are that pure consciousness. So therefore, our aim in life has to be, how do I get to that pure consciousness? I am not this conditioned consciousness. Why we are saying we are conditioned consciousness? Because if I were to ask you this question, are you conscious? Are you aware? They are synonyms. Are you conscious? Are you aware? What will be your answer? What will you have to throw back a question at me. Are you
what, sir?
conscious?
Of what, sir?
Of what? Are you aware?
Of the divinity in us.
Of what? You can't answer that question. Nobody can answer that question. So you are conscious of your perceptions. You're conscious of your emotions. You're conscious of your thoughts. You may go through a range of emotions, joy and sorrow. I'm conscious of my joy. I'm conscious of my sorrow. The physical level, we go through various perceptions. Right now, are you not conscious of the sound? If I ask you, are you conscious?
Yes.
Yes, I am conscious of
Sound.
the sound. Are you not conscious of the screen? On the screen, you see so many people. Your eyes are registering that, right? So you're conscious of what your eyes perceiving. So you can go on multiplying the example. So therefore, all our consciousness is qualified by objects and beings of the world. Therefore, we say it is conditioned consciousness. Pure consciousness is beyond all that. But our experience, we are completely entangled in this conditioned consciousness, which is pure consciousness, which has mixed with body, mind, intellect, the layman's term I am using. And number one. Number two, we are totally entangled in this conditioned consciousness, meaning perception, feelings, and thoughts. It could be positive, it could be negative. One person could be totally caught up in joy, and the whole life could be great. It's not that you have to suffer in life. You could have a great life, isn't it? There are people maybe hardly any sorrow they have or experience, but still you are completely caught up in joy. It's a conditioned personality. That's not real you. Another person could be completely caught up in sorrow. Oh my God, tragedy, great tragedy has happened, great tragedy has happened. Another person could be caught up in indulgent lifestyle. Another person could be caught up in ideas and ideologies. So therefore, we are saying what life we are living is not true life. That's not our true personality. We have become conditioned by objects and beings of the world, by perception, by feelings, by thoughts. And scriptures, they are telling us that's not real you. Can you have the PowerPoint, Vijay? See, if you are hearing it for the first time, you may find it a little bit difficult, but it's not difficult. It's important you understand this concept. So yeah, so with PowerPoint it becomes easy. So you are conscious of perceptions, feelings, and thoughts. I'm just reading. Therefore, your awareness, your consciousness is qualified by an object. It's objectful. So it is conditioned consciousness. Underlying every conditioned consciousness is pure consciousness, which is objectless awareness, awareness per se, the pure consciousness, the God principle, which we don't understand at this moment. Our understanding is related to objects and beings of the world. So therefore we say it's conditioned consciousness. But our state, our original state, is pure consciousness per se. That is God in layman's language, that is self. So how do you aware this pure consciousness in your day-to-day life? That is the methodology, that is the sadhana. So you have to remind yourself that what makes me perceive, feel, or think is pure consciousness, or God. You can use the word God, doesn't matter. Not what I perceive, what I feel, what I think. At physical level, you may go through pleasant, unpleasant experiences. Sometimes body aches, or you may have a fall and you may have a sprained ankle or whatever, So there is a pain. One thing is you are drowned in that pain. Oh, I got fever, I got fever. Some people, slight fever also, they can't handle. What makes me feel that pain is God, not what I feel. Similarly, emotions. Sometimes you go through good emotions, sometimes you may go through not so good emotions. So rather than getting lost in those emotions, what makes me feel joy and sorrow is God, not what I feel. So it's okay, once in a while you may feel a little bit down. So what? Shift your focus from the quality of emotion to what makes you feel that emotion. Similarly, the ideas and ideologies. There are people who may criticize you. There are people who may praise you, who may agree with you, who may disagree with you. So why are you getting lost in that? So what makes me think is God, not what I think. So what makes you perceive, what makes you feel, what makes you think. Shift your focus from perception, feelings, and thoughts to what?
God.
What makes me. See, again, you straight away jump to the unknown. Therefore, I have been hammering in. What makes me perceive, what makes me feel, what makes me think is God, not what I perceive, not what I feel, not what I think. And same thing you can apply objectively. Somebody hurts you, somebody says nasty things. Happens at home also, it can happen. Your own spouse can sometimes say, you're the most stupid person or whatever. What makes him say stupid is what?
The God principle.
Does it matter what he or she says? Similarly, in the workplace, somebody may hurt you, say something, or you come across certain actions which are difficult for you and me to understand. Somebody does some atrocious things, you understand that what makes him or her do that particular action is the same God principle. Otherwise, you're lost in that. Why? So you can apply this technique subjectively as well as what? Objectively. So this is sadhana. Now, you may or may not be able to apply this immediately, but at least you should know that you have that potential, you have that capacity. But the problem with ignorant person is no conditioned person knows he or she is conditioned. That is the next point. Not only we are conditioned by objects and beings, conditioned by perception, feelings, and thoughts, and we are completely lost in the world. Totally lost in the world. We have no clue of who we are, what we are. So whole life goes in what? Whole life goes in what?
Conditioned consciousness.
Conditioned consciousness, which is not real you, which is your false personality. It's like somebody is drunk. And unfortunately, no drunk person knows he is drunk. That's the problem. If he knows he is drunk, then he is not drunk enough. He's a little bit sober. No drunk person knows he is drunk. And there is no way you can tell him. That's the problem. Sometimes your own friend can get drunk, dead drunk. That's the reason we use that term perhaps. Can you put some sense into a person who is drunk? Could be your own spouse also. I don't know. Go for a party, he or she gets drunk and creates some weird behavior. You can't talk to that person. You cannot communicate to that person. You can't tell him that, hey, come on, behave. What are you doing? Why can't you tell? Even if you want to tell, even if you are his well-wisher, you can't tell. Why can't you tell?
He is under influence of alcohol.
He is under the influence of the alcohol. So whatever you try to tell him, he will not understand. You are sober, you understand he is drunk. So exactly same thing is happening to all of us. Now you understand. We are dead drunk with desires, with vasanas, that conditioned consciousness, perception, feelings, and thoughts. That is my life, that is your life. And in that tiny little circle of perception, feelings, and thoughts, you are trying to find happiness in the world. How it is possible? It is prima facie absurd. And this is what Christ is trying to tell us. This is what all the scriptures they are trying to tell us. But it cannot penetrate. Even now we are discussing, the reaction could be, I'm not saying, don't take it personally. Somebody may say it's too abstract. And I don't blame you for that. So your spiritual journey starts when you understand that you're a conditioned person. Otherwise, your spiritual journey cannot start. So once you understand you are conditioned, the next step would be what? What should I do?
Study, practice, meditate.
Uncondition myself.
Okay.
How do I uncondition myself? We discussed that sadhana. It doesn't matter what I perceive, doesn't matter what I feel, doesn't matter what I think. What makes me perceive, what makes me feel, what makes me think is what?
God principle.
God. So that's the sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice. So that's what he is saying in this verse. And oh Bharata, also know me as the Kshetrajna, nor in all Kshetras fields. The knowledge of Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that is considered by me to be knowledge. So that is the true purpose of life, to get to that state. That's what it means. Kyron, you had raised your hand for a long time. Yeah, something must be really bothering you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm still chewing on all that you said, and I'm worried that my question won't even make sense. But, at the beginning of class, you said God is neutral. It's like electricity. It doesn't care what the light bulb looks like. So we're like that. And then in this section, we're saying now we're to ask, what makes me feel and think that. And of course, that's the God principle, making us think and feel all that. But then I'm like, well, God is neutral. But then you just said it's our conditioned states that make us think and feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm a little lost. The veil is differently
Yeah.
right now. So
No, I get your point.
okay.
I get your point.
Okay.
See, there are two different concepts. I mean, of course, they are interconnected.
Mhm.
When we say God is neutral, God principle is neutral, it means how you manage your life. It is not going to interfere, that God principle. What you perceive, what actions you do, what emotions you entertain, what thoughts you entertain. God principle has got nothing to do with it. It just enlivens that. It just enlivens your body, mind, intellect. Now, you can use body, mind, intellect either positively or negatively. That is simple. That is a different concept. Now, here the focus is on we are lost in the world. We're totally lost in the world. We are totally entangled in the world. So, how are we lost or entangled in the world? In our perceptions, in our feelings, in our thoughts, positive, negative, So, instead of getting totally lost and entangled in perceptions, feelings, and thoughts, understand that what makes me perceive is God. Behind every perception is God principle. Behind every feeling is God principle. Behind every thought is God principle, the pure consciousness. It's a separate concept. And once you get to that state, then you become 100% objective in life. So that's the practical implication. When we say neutral, another way of explaining that is 100% objective. So you function in a world with a total spirit of renunciation, as opposed to getting involved and entangled and enmeshed in any situation. See, only the enlightened person is 100% objective. None of us are. But to the extent you are established in this knowledge, to that extent you have that ability to be objective, meaning capacity to use your intellect when you face any situation or a challenge in life. For that, you need to be objective. So 100% objectivity we don't understand, which is a state of self-realization, God realization. So they mean same, actually speaking. But it depends on like what concept we are discussing. So no need to compare these two at this stage. So that perhaps is your doubt, isn't it? And incidentally, that's what he's going to tell us in verse number 4. Yeah, I didn't realize that was in next verse. Verse number 4, please.
तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च यद्विकारि यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च यद्विकारि यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु.
Translation: what that kshetra is, field is, and what it is like, what are its modifications, and whence it is, and also what he is, what God is, and what his power is, that hear from me in brief. So he's going to answer Arjuna's questions one by one. So he says, I'm going to explain to you what is matter, I'm going to explain to you what is spirit, how spirit functions in the matter. So the word he uses is Yat Prabhava. What he is, what God principle is, what is his power. So I am going to explain to you the concept of God. In fact, Swamiji has written the whole book. It's called Thesis on God. Some of you must be aware, So, but what you need to understand is, again, coming back to Karen's question, that God principle is completely neutral. I know it's not, since childhood we have been hearing so many things. So if you are hearing it for the first time, it takes a while to swallow, because my grandmother has told me so many stories. You have heard so many stories from your grandmothers, I mean, they have devotion, but minus knowledge, it means nothing. So how that God principle functions in a human being is totally neutral. And we often give example of petrol in a car. So in fact, it's Swamiji's original example. It's famous for explaining the concept of God with this comparison, that how petrol functions in a car, exactly in the same way God principle functions in you and me. The gas, petrol means gas. America's outside America, nobody understands gas, So we use the word petrol. So how petrol functions in a car? It's neutral, totally neutral, isn't it? But no vehicle can function without a petrol, isn't it? No vehicle can function without a petrol, but petrol has no desire to go or not to go. If you ask petrol, it's a lovely day, do you want to go for a scenic drive? No answer. Okay, do you want to stay at home today? Maybe you are tired. No answer. But without petrol, no vehicle can function, isn't it? So similarly, without God principle, body, mind, intellect cannot function. But God principle has no desire to perceive, act, feel, and think. Are you getting the comparison? One by one we are comparing. No vehicle can function without petrol, but petrol has got no desire to go anywhere or not to go anywhere. Similarly, without God principle, body, mind, intellect cannot function. Can't perceive, can't act, can't feel, can't think. But God principle has got no desire to do anything or not to do anything. Isn't it a beautiful summer? Let's plan a trip to Yellowstone and it's my desire to see that famous geyser for a long time. It's called as Old Faithful. Correct me if I'm wrong. That famous geyser in Yellowstone National Park, Old Faithful. Yeah. I think faithful because I think faithful it erupts every 40, 50 minutes or whatever, you know. So God principle is not going to say, okay, let's pack our bags and, okay, maybe you don't want to go anywhere. But without God principle, no perception, feeling, action, and thought is possible. First point of comparison. Second point of comparison is performance of the car depends on the engine. Petrol has got nothing to do with it. If engine is small, 1.5 liter, performance is okay. If engine is 2 liter turbocharged, not bad. If it is 3.5 liter turbocharged, wow. 6.5 liter, wow, that's real fun. But the same petrol is there in all the cars, irrespective of their engine capacity. So what powers the car is engine, is not the petrol. So similarly, there are different caliber of people. There are average people, there are dull people, or there are extraordinary people, like scientists like Newton, or spiritual stalwarts like Krishna or Prophet Muhammad, Swami Ram Tirtha, Shakespeare, when it comes to literature. But the same God principle is functioning in all. But the caliber depends on your talent, your vasanas. Third point of comparison. One car meets with an accident. Another car, ambulance goes to help people who are met with an accident. But there is no such thing called as accident petrol and safe petrol. You can't blame petrol for an accident. Also, you cannot thank petrol for saving. So similarly, one person may do the most noble acts. Like Christ, he gave his life for others. Sidney Carton, he gave his life to save somebody. Most noble acts. Or there are people who do atrocious acts. They brought 2 twin towers down in America. What kind of an act is that? But the same petrol functions in a terrorist, the same petrol functions in a saint. It depends on how you use it. So if you understand these 3 points of comparison, your concept of God will be very easy. Otherwise, you may read and read and read whole life. You will not understand. So what's his power? This is what he's going to tell us. And he will tell us subsequently. But with this example, next few verses are going to be very easy. All right, so we'll quickly take up questions, and then there are 2 announcements.
I had a quick question.
Yes, please.
So I have a feeling that some of the great sages that were ascetics, they went into the caves or whatever, and they spent time. They were trying to eliminate the conditioning in their lives so that they could get closer to God or closer to the pure without the conditions of their life entrapping them. Is that what you mean by being entrapped by the world?
No, see, you could be a king. Now, Krishna, no, he was not an ascetic. He was an emperor, right? Many of the Upanishadic masters, the source of this knowledge is Upanishads. They were kings, they were emperors. So it's nothing to do with what you do. So it's not that you have to retire to a forest or a cave to remove your desires. The easy way I am explaining. You could stay where you are, but having said that, you need some amount of withdrawal to work on yourself. So right now you have withdrawn yourself for an hour, You're attending classes every week. So that is more than enough. So what you need to do is through study, reflection, you uncondition yourself. You remove your desires. You may withdraw, you may not withdraw. Each one's personality is different.
Hello, I have a question. You
Yes,
mentioned that,
Yogesh.
yeah, you mentioned different people have different levels. There are some dull people, there are some extraordinary people, there are some normal people.
Correct.
How do I analyze myself where I stand here? Because if I am a normal or a dull person, I still try my best, or I think I'm an extraordinary, and that's where the delta is, the difference is, for the suffering. Like, come on, you have to accept what you are. Your frequency is different. So how do I know what my frequency is?
You see, we are giving that example in the context of worldly talent. See, everybody cannot be Roger Federer in lawn tennis. But there are people who are good at whatever, like school level or college level. No? So, but the same God principle functions in Roger Federer and a person who is at a very basic level of tennis. So that's the point of comparison. There is Einstein, the brilliant, he has a brilliant intellect. How he became brilliant, that's not a point of discussion. That is by putting efforts. It goes without saying. But the same God principle which functions in Einstein, I'm magnifying, the same God principle functions in a person who is in a mental asylum, who has lost his intellect. So the God principle is same. So what you're asking is, how do I become a better human being? That is through your study and reflection, by strengthening your intellect. So that is a separate question. But the same God principle functions in a high caliber person as well as an average person. That's the point of comparison here, nothing else.
Thank you.
Yes, Manika.
Good morning. I'm kind of following up on Karen's question previously after you did verse 4, and I understand the concept of the God and Petrol analogy. I fully understand that. So I'm confirming that this dismisses the concept that the God principle, they're blessings, because people worldwide pray for blessings and protection to God, but is this indicating that's not a thing? Blessings from God are not a thing. Confirming that.
No, there is nothing wrong in blessing. I mean, in praying. But then you need to get on with the efforts. Only pray minus efforts, nothing is going to happen. So when you pray, the thought is on you're reducing your ego. That there is something beyond me which is responsible for everything, whatever that entity is. At the end of the day, I have to get on with my efforts. Just by praying, nothing is going to happen. You have to put efforts. That is where that misconception is. So that does not mean one should not pray or whatever, There is a meaning behind that. But what people don't understand is, without putting efforts, nothing is going to happen. That is where that confusion lies. A prayer is nothing but a reminder. The true prayer, what prayer we see in the world that's not true prayer. It has been reduced to selfishness. In fact, that's what we studied in the previous chapter. Satatam santushtam yogi. Who is a true devotee of God? Who is always content, ever content? Now, how can such a person pray for anything, ask for anything? So the concept of prayer which we see is a polluted version of prayer. That is not true prayer. True prayer is you think of the supreme reality. You shift your focus from the mundane world to something what is beyond this world. And that is true prayer.
But the prayer is not thinking that there is a God principle or petrol that's going to act. The action is from you.
Exactly. That is where the misconception lies.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Uncle, you have a question?
Yeah, it's how does shifting my focus from perception, emotion, and thoughts help me lessen the effect? or impact of my perceptions, emotions, and thoughts?
See, when you are, see, the sadhana, the practice is when you are going through some emotion. Let's magnify, like, some sorrow, for example. One thing is you could be completely drowned in sorrow. Then how do you come out of it? So what is one of the solutions? It's not the only solution. There is just one sadhana. What makes me feel that emotion is God. So you are stepping back. Otherwise, you are in it completely, isn't it? So only when you step out of that emotion, you begin to understand what is happening to me. Yes, I'm not going through like pleasant experience in my life right now, but you should be able to understand that. So while you are in it, you cannot understand that. So one such technique is you step out. So how do you step out? By telling yourself that what makes me feel sorrow is God, not what I am experiencing right now. So you become relatively objective, and then of course your intellect kicks in, and then through logic and reason, you work on yourself. That why this sorrow? Because I was leaning on the world for object or a being for my happiness. And when it is not catering to me, or that object or a being is gone, I am experiencing sorrow. So that reasoning kicks in only when you step out. So in that sense, it is useful. What makes me feel sorrow is God, not what I am experiencing right now.
It takes your mind off of that, whatever you're sucked in perception, emotion, and thought, to something else.
But in a positive way.
Right.
So like that, you can, when you're you're going through something unpleasant, you can go shopping. That is also taking your mind away from that. This is through logic and reason, backed by, like fact of life.
Thank you.
All right, so time up. There are 2 announcements.
Hari Om all. Tomorrow morning, we will continue the study of Swami Parthasarathhi's book, Governing Business and Relationships, from 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. The book explains the application of Vedanta in daily life. It is an interesting discussion-oriented class which will help us with the study and understanding of the Gita too. So do attend, and the class is relatively new, so you can easily start again. On Wednesday, June 24th, we have the Q&A session with Amitji. It is from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we had so many questions that come up in our mind, and it will come up over the weekend too. So you can send your questions to questions@vedantamidwest.org, or just come and listen to the questions asked by the class members and get more clarity by the answers that Amitji gives us. Thank you.
So have a great weekend, and I will see you either tomorrow or next week.
Thanks, Amitji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Samaji.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Amitji.